Howdy, everyone. Welcome into the TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs. We're outside of the Rollo Insurance Studio, and on today's show, we had Olin Buchanan on the Go Hour, of course, Andrew Monaco, everyone's favorite human, in studio. Had Buzz Williams talking about the past week and what's ahead for Aggie basketball, and, of course, TexAgs co-owner and executive editor Billy Liucci. Here it is. Check it out.
I'm watching the game, OB, as my daughter's playing, so I'm watching on my phone, right? And I'm just getting angry. And in fact, in the first half, where everything looked great, I turned to my wife, Elizabeth, and I said, I don't think we're going to win this game. Because it was such an anomaly, right? Like, that's not how they win. Yes, on an occasional day, they can hit a bunch of threes, right? But I didn't find it like a winning recipe. Now, what I didn't expect was the total collapse, total offensive collapse in the second half. 25 points, which I think was 1 point more than Texas scored in the first half.
Yeah, but look at the last 16 minutes.
Yep. But like, again, everything that happened, the frustrating offensive woes that we have seen when this team loses is typically because an offensive 6-minute stretch, 8-minute stretch, 4-minute stretch that causes them games.
Okay, first of all, to me, it's like watching the Titanic sink. You know, you're like, hey, man, this looked unsinkable. And then all of a sudden it was. And I think, look, I've seen it on the other way with A&M coming back from, but this was somehow worse. You had a 22-point lead with less than 17 minutes to go. And then you started, I almost think it came too easy for them. And they kind of forget who they are. And it starts, some people won't like this, it starts with Henry Coleman picking up a technical foul, complaining, all right, Henry, what do you think you're going to do when you go to the official? That's what, I didn't see it, but that's what I understand happened. Do you think he's going to say, oh, yeah, you're right here. Let's call a foul now and put you at the line. So you get a technical foul with a big lead, and basically you give Texas 2 points. No big deal, except that they won by 1. You get a technical foul later.
6 men on the court.
Now, to me, again, I was trying to see what it looked like. It looked like the official gave the ball to put in play while A&M was making a. Maybe A&M should have been quicker getting the guy off the court, but to me, that's a bad break. But how many layups did A&M miss?
How many free throws did they miss?
Well, right. And
how many did Texas make?
And one of the things that I don't get is that, look, Texas in that second half especially, and despite their defense, Wade Taylor almost saved you a couple of times. But Texas was trying to take Wade Taylor out of the offense. It appeared to me from way up where we were sitting that A&M just didn't adjust their defense as Trey Johnson got white hot. And how this guy, like less than a minute to go, I think it was, maybe a little more than that, he hits a three, and there's nobody within shouting distance of it. How does this guy get that wide open?
Yeah, well, there are maroon glasses, believe me, I wear them, and
I do too.
Of course, that one hurts on Saturday. It's not just an SEC game; it's the rival game. It's a 22-point lead. You're up 14. You answer and get up 14 with 6, and part of the problem is we've seen this happen before. It happened against UCF. It happened against Oregon. It's something that's going to have to be fixed if they want to be a team that gets to San Antonio at the end of the year. But that's where you step back and say it's a journey. And at no point is a season one straight line. And as we find out as Aggies, it's a roller coaster, right? And the highest of highs is when you come back and beat Oklahoma. And the highest of highs is stealing one at Ole Miss, and the lowest of lows is what happens on Saturday. But that's what it is. But how do you respond? And this is the thing. I think we get so focused on responding after losses. How do you respond after wins? That's just as important. This team has won way more than they've lost. And looking back, and you can't do anything about the back, you've got to learn from wins and losses. So interesting tonight, Aggie Basketball Hour with Buzz Williams. I'm going to ask him, how do you look at that game? Do you look at the first 20? Do you look at the last 20? Because there was so much good that happened, and then it changed. Momentum is such a, you've been in sports long enough. Momentum it's hard to get it. And when you lose it, it's hard to get it back. Right? And in that atmosphere. And the thing that you always want down the stretch is poise. Right? So if I've just watched 40 minutes at Oxford and saw that there was nothing but poise on that Aggie sideline, and I'm watching, okay, it's falling away, and you're seeing that poise as well. Like, that's what you have to have. But in the 6-game tournament where it really matters, you're going to be faced with that. I've always said every national championship has a game that they find a way to win by not playing their best over any 6 games. Again, if you look at it as a journey, as a snap, if it's a snapshot, David, you're crushed. If you're looking at it as I'm going to show my age now, ready? Film strip. But as a film, you realize, just like any movie, you're going to have, there's going to be smiles, there's going to be tears, there's going to be this and that. Now, how do you go from this point out?
Right.
It happened. Own up to it. It happened. What did we do wrong? But don't forget what you did right in that game as well.
Yes, sir. I think that's just what the season has become. That was the 9th game that we've played this year that was either a 1 or 2 possession game. And I think it is a emotional roller coaster, and you have a different perspective in Oxford at the end than you do in Austin at the end. But I think the lessons that come from it are paramount. And I think what we have tried to do throughout the year is just make sure that our response, whether things are good or whether things are bad, that our energy is going to the next thing. You're seeing it even in conference play, how one thing turns into 4 things if you're not careful, because the margins are so thin. And our guys have been very mature in that. Again, 60% of the games that we have played thus far this year that weren't guaranteed games have been decided by 6 points or less. And so with 11 regular season games left, if those numbers stay the same, it's probably going to happen 5 or 6 more times. And so we've got to continue to find ways to improve and make sure that we're learning the lessons. Whether the emotion is good or bad, there's lessons to learn from it.
Talking to Buzz Williams here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. How would you assess Wade's return so far? Obviously, missing time and playing yourself back into shape can be difficult. How do you assess where Wade's at?
I think he's been tremendous. We really appreciate him being back on the floor. I think he and Eddie and Gep were in lockstep with one another in the 12 days that he was out. I actually think that we grew and improved with the guys that were playing, and that made us better. And I think having him back obviously makes us better, but he comes back and our team's a little different. So very thankful that he's back, and just kind of the wear and tear that this league goes through, whether it's whether it's Zoo, whether it's solo. I just think anytime you can have the depth that our team has and the maturity and the experience, that's also kind of what comes with the territory.
It was the worst way to lose, the worst opponent to lose there in a game where a lot of their people were like literally leaving for the exits at halftime. And again, I mean this, like, I hate losing to that logo and that color. I hate losing down there when you have a chance to win, because what people don't want to hear is that Texas is and historically has been really good across the board in sports. So that's why when you go beat them in volleyball, it's a big freaking deal. And when you beat them in Omaha, it's a big freaking deal. And when you see them pop up in your regional, we all get pissed off because, like, how did they always want to match them up? But then when you beat them, you go, thank God they were here. I really enjoyed that. That made it that much better, beating those guys. So when you have a chance to beat them twice in a season and maybe run them out of the gym twice, had you started that half differently, or once you got out to that lead, to have that like right there at your fingertips. But for me, it goes beyond wanting to beat Texas, because there's a reality to this that no one will care to reference, but right now, today, A&M should be better than Texas in baseball. I fully believe they will be. They have been for the last few years, and even with the coaching change, I don't think they're ranked higher. They have better roster. They're going to be better. Basketball, they're a better team. They lost yet on Saturday. They're a better team throughout the course of the season. Texas is going to, they're going to be a much lower seed, have a much tougher path. Texas A&M should and needs to, with all the veterans they've got, they should have the better basketball season. It is about losing to them, and it is about, look, if you're going to play this, this Lone Star showdown, you're going to if we're keeping score, beat their ass.
Right.
All right, everyone, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.